Now that we went over how to fix the story of Kingdom Hearts 3, I think it's time we move on to how I would have made the gameplay of KH3. Now, if you haven't seen my story fix videos for KH3, you should watch those first before watching this video. Now, the first thing to mention about my version is that character switching would be a new mechanic added to the series, taking cues from Dream Drop Distance. However, this would be more based around switching on the fly in combat when there's another Keyblade wielder on the battlefield. Sora's party would have a major addition to the party, with Kairi being a part of the main party, with Sora, Donald, and Goofy. Going into Kairi's gameplay first, she would start off by being useless in combat to the point of only being able to clumsily swing the Keyblade, since she's never really learned how to fight in the previous games. Her only magic spell would be Pearl, and she wouldn't be able to be switched to for the Twilight Town segment of the game. After that, she would unlock a basic 3-hit combo string for herself to use, and finally be able to be switched to play as her. As you play through the game, she unlocks more combos for her to use, and her magic spells would be more support based, with her being able to use Stop, Gravity, Cure, Pearl, and Water. Once she trains with Aqua and Radiant Gardens, Kairi will unlock the ability to use Shot Locks along with the Shot Lock Dash ability. Going into Sora's gameplay, he would basically play like his KH2 self, with starting off with a normal 3-hit combo and soon regaining access to his old combos and even some new ones. Although, there are some new additions to Sora, such as being able to air step in the air and also be able to air block. His drive form gauge would take the place of the shot lock gauge in order to give Sora a different feeling when playing as him instead of Kairi. Sora's drive forms would not be tied to the Keyblade he uses and would basically function as they did in KH2 by absorbing his party members. His Counter Strike form would have Sora focus on blocking with his Keyblade and throwing his Keyblade around like a boomerang, and as you level it up, you unlock the ability to use Critical Guards, which allows Sora to increase the damage he performs in a finisher within one combo as long as he performs a perfect block. Sora would have no access to magic in this form and would absorb Goofy to use the form. Sora's Power form would play like his Valor form in the previous game, with Sora having 2 Keyblades to use at the expense of magic, and would absorb Kairi with this form. After leveling it up, you soon unlock High Jump and Double Jump. Element's form would be the Wisdom form of this game, with Sora wielding his Keyblade by shooting lasers and powering up his magic at the expense of melee attacks. Donald would be absorbed, and after leveling it up, he unlocks a Quick Dash just like before. Sora's new speed form is where Sora wields 2 Keyblades and focuses on quick attacks and magic at the expense of raw power. This form would absorb the whole party, and after leveling it up, Sora would gain his dodge roll ability back and also gain the ability to perform a perfect dodge and gain different effects that he can choose to use AP on. One move would have Sora create a doppelganger that explodes, immediately knocking the enemy into the air, allowing Sora to set up combos. Another move would have Sora gain the ability to slow down time when performing a perfect dodge, similar to Bayonetta. His final move would allow Sora to create a doppelganger in order to divert the enemy's attention for a few seconds, allowing Sora to take a breather to recharge his MP or use an item. Sora's final form would basically be KH2 once again, allowing Sora to glide, use more powerful magic attacks, and once again dual-wield Keyblades. It would basically be KH2's final form all over again, with him unlocking Glide by leveling up the form. And Sora's final form would be called True Form, essentially giving Sora a golden type of drive form. This form is used right after Sora unlocks the Fusion Keyblade, essentially, the Kingdom Key that's fused with both the L and D Kingdom Keys. Sora basically wields the fused Kingdom Key like how Darth Maul wields his lightsaber in the Phantom Menace. Rage form would function as a punishment as it did in KH2, but however, you would have more control over when you turn into it. The thing is, the likeliness of turning into it increases the more party members that are KO'd after Kairi is knocked down. Sora's Rage form can only activate when Kairi is knocked out in combat, with the likeliness of turning into it increasing when Donald and Goofy get knocked out. Although, if Kairi, Donald, and Goofy are revived on the battlefield, Sora would not actually turn to Rage form at all. Rage form would still have the combos and risk charge of KH3, but no finish commands to immediately shut the form off. Sora's magic would be Fire, Blizzard, Thunder, Cure, Aero, and Reflect, along with Magnet. Sora's gameplay would basically be KH2's gameplay, but more refined. Kairi's gameplay would also be KH2's gameplay, with some of Birth by Sleep sprinkled into the mix to give her a more different feeling from Sora. Basically, she uses the shot lock command, and she also has the flow motion abilities befitting of her agile appearance, although all characters can still wall run in the actual gameplay. Riku's gameplay from KH3 would remain mostly unchanged, aside from using Dark Fire Gun normally, but with decreased damage, and a few additions to his combos, but with some slight changes, such as a drive gauge being used for Riku to transform into a dark mode that gives him access to his Dream Eater combos from Dream Drop distance. Riku and all other playable characters would also be at the same level as Sora to keep their gameplay balanced. Mickey basically is his KH2 version realized to his fullest potential, with having a fully realized moveset, and can use Pearl, Stopga, and Kurga as his magic commands. He also has a drive form that gives him a glowing yellow hue that allows him to attack faster with more power. Ventus would pretty much have his combos from KH3, but his strike rate attacks uses up most of his MP, with its power nerfed, and is in his magic commands, and his spells are Fire and Aero. He also has shot locks and his Windblade command style from Birth by Sleep. Aqua would have changes to her combos and would have much longer combos, and she would have both Sora and Kairi spells to use in her arsenal. Terra would also be playable and have Darkness shot locks, while also having faster combos, and his Keyblade transformations would be part of the commands menu, and would use up your MP in order to use one of them. Xion would basically function like second form pushed up to 11, at first starting off with a 3-hit combo, but as she fills up her meter, she gains more moves to her combos and can pull off a limit to expend the meter. However, Xion can also choose to conserve the meter and not use it at all in order to keep up fast combos. Axel basically has his Keyblade like normal, and uses his Chakrams as a drive, and uses fire-based MP attacks. Roxas would more or less play as he fights in the normal game, but he would not have his invincibility spell, and his Aero combos would behave as a sort of fusion of Master Form and Valor Form. Roxas also has a drive form that allows him to use the Faith Lasers he uses in the later part of his fight in KH2. His magic also has the Keyblade throw moves for him to use, along with Kurga and a few other attacks. Donald and Goofy are also playable characters and are the only non-Keyblade wielding party members that can be used. Donald is entirely based around magic and has his own spells to use involving Meteor, Fireworks, and Comets, along with Cure, obviously. Goofy is basically the idea of Gladio from Final Fantasy XV, if you ever play that game, where Goofy can block attacks to then counterattack and build up a rage meter that increases his attack power. He also has a special magic ability that costs all of his MP, where he can shield the team for 3 seconds. Post-game, all the Guardians can be played in free roam, although the maximum amount of party members allowed is 6. Party members can't be taken out, so you can fight alone if you're going for a self-imposed challenge, unless the fight is scripted to have certain characters in. Limit commands in KH3 would play as they did in KH2, with absorbing all your MP to use them, and summons would only be usable by Sora, and the way each summon would work would be completely revised. Summons also fight alongside Sora, to be clear. Also, the summons would be completely changed up to include more fresh blood into the series. For example, one of the new summons in the game would be Kim Possible. The way she assists Sora would be her using various gadgets to keep the enemy stunned in order to give Sora openings to attack them. Another example would be Mr. Incredible, who basically smashes the ground and launches enemies up into the air to set up Sora's aerial combos so he can use Magnet Spiral. The Disney worlds themselves would be mostly unchanged, aside from having much more enemies to contend with. The only exception to this is Pirates of the Caribbean, which has a lot more of the film's set pieces to explore, but the exploration of the islands would be changed a lot more, so instead of just really not getting anything new, you instead get extra Keyblades every time you complete an island, thus adding a reason to explore the entire place. The Disney bosses roster would be upped a lot more, with you fighting Zurg, Randell, Dark Baymax, Gothal, Davy Jones, Hades, and the Titans. Party member wise, Donald and Goofy can also assist Sora in combat when Sora performs a finisher near them, but they also have specific abilities only that they can use with Sora. If Donald is next to Sora when the latter casts magic, the two would cast magic back to back. Twilight Town is also expanded upon and has much more to do in the world than the original, including a dance club and a karaoke club, baseball tournaments, and astrology segments similar to the Yakuza games. Each of these activities relate to Sora, Donald, Goofy, and Kairi's favorite activities, and can give each of them a special limit, such as Sora using a breakdance in one of his limits, and Donald unlocking Meteor as a limit, or Kairi using her Keyblade to use music to attack her enemies. Twilight Town also has hotels and apartments to reside in, which allows Sora to talk to his party members in some downtime and enhance a specific spell in the party's magic. There's also the ability to have Sora spar with his teammates, such as battling against Donald and Goofy and Kairi in a sort of sparring match basically. Disney Town and Disney Castle is also a returning world that allows for some mini games and also has a special secret boss once you beat the game the first time. Essentially, the minigames allow Sora and Kairi to bond with each other more and basically play off each other a lot more in the game, which basically allows their relationship to develop more and basically interact with each other a lot more. Photo mode is a lot more expansive this time around, with characters interacting more with Sora during photo mode, such as Riku turning away out of embarrassment, Aqua saying she's not the best at photos, Ven acting with glee when having a photo taken, or Kairi joining Sora in a selfie. Characters will also comment on photo mode being used in battle, such as Riku getting pissed at Sora for messing around if you take a selfie when he's fighting, and there's also another mode where you can pause gameplay to get a better picture. Specific interactions can also happen depending on who's in the picture. If Aqua and Terra are in the picture standing alongside each other, Sora and Kairi would jokingly ask if the two are dating, leading to them getting embarrassed over it, with Roxas and Shion having a similar interaction with Sora and Kairi. Another example could be if Mickey, Donald, and Goofy are in the same shot. They would then do their iconic Disney poses. Going to secret bosses, each world would have a secret boss to battle. Toy Story would have you battle Lotso as a sort of reference to Toy Story 3. Tangled would basically be the world where you fight the Dark Inferno. Monsters Inc. would have you battle against a recently escaped water news from the original movie. Pirates of the Caribbean would also have ship combat against Blackbeard, and Big Hero 6 would have you battle against the nanites who form into a singular being. Radiant Gardens would allow you to fight against data bosses against the organization as before, and as series tradition, Sephiroth. Disney Castle's secret boss only shows up if Mickey is in the party with Sora, and the secret boss would be Oswald as a Keyblade wielder. Twilight Town's secret boss is a battle against Noctis Lucius Kylum, and later on a fight against Arden Lucius Kylum. Olympus would also have a boss fight against Zeus. The Olympus Coliseum makes a return, and after beating all the modes in that, the Mirage Arena is unlocked, and this time a special mode is unlocked where you can mix and match Disney party members in the Mirage Arena, and the final boss of the Mirage Arena would be none other than Yen Sid. The DLC would also have 2 packs to purchase. The first one would be a story DLC taking place after the main story, starring Riku, Mickey, and Terra dealing with Maleficent and Pete after the main story, since both Riku and Terra have been manipulated by the former, and Terra would feel a personal responsibility to stop her. And of course Mickey is there just so we can have Mickey vs. Pete for old time's sake. The second DLC pack adds the Guardians of Light as secret bosses for you to spar against, with the final one fought after beating the others being Sora himself. This allows for some interesting fights, such as having Sora and Roxas going for a rematch, Riku vs. Terra, Aqua vs. Kairi, and Sora vs. Mickey. Beating each of the Guardians unlocks special costumes for them to use, such as Shion wearing her new outfit, Riku going with his KH1 design, Anti-Aqua, Terranort, Mickey's KH2 and classic outfit, and among others. Beating the Data versions also gives a different Keyblade for each of them to use. Riku gets the Oblivion Keyblade, Terra gets Ends of Earth, Ventus gets Lionheart, etc. Essentially, this is the way I would have outlined the entire game, and I'm hoping that you at the very least enjoyed this sort of what if on how I would have done Kingdom Hearts 3. I hope you liked this video. Please comment, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what you think. And I'll see you next time. Have a good day, and sayonara.